I have a last aspect of the question that I would like us to discuss is about Donald Trump. It's not about science. It's about politics.
Yeah.
Because in the world, when we ask about important politicians on the climate realist side, maybe we would say that Donald Trump was one of them, and he was quite alone. In some respect, he said strange things. It was not very sensible, and he was not really a president really interested in science, of course. But still,
are you kidding? Well, tell me a president who is really good on science.
It's not that common, but he was not
give
involved.
Give me one example.
In intellectual things, we do not imagine him reading.
No. Give me an example of a politician who is thoughtful about science.
We had in Europe. We have Angela Merkel, which is
she had a degree in science.
Degree,
but I haven't heard her say anything sensible about science.
No.
Have you?
No, it's not her work now. Okay, but
she's ever. Yes, Margaret Thatcher had a degree,
for example.
But it worked to her disadvantage in science. Mm-hmm. You understand why?
So tell us.
Well, I mean, it had nothing to do with her view on climate. Her view on climate was because she wanted to destroy the coal miners' union. Mm-hmm. Then Tickell, who was a science advisor, told her, listen, you have a degree in science. Get on the global warming bandwagon and you can be a global leader because of your science background. What does
eventually she said that
science?
Eventually she wrote that it was
she eventually retracted.
Retracted,
yeah.
Yes.
But I'm saying, politicians have other things in their mind than rigor.
Okay,
so I think your example of Merkel or Thatcher is an example of exactly the opposite. That even with scientific education, politicians will not behave scientifically.
Okay.
So Trump, I mean, I can't imagine, looking to him for scientific guidance, but on the other hand, he's as sensible as any other politician when it comes to science.
And how do you feel about what he did when he was president on the issue of climate?
On the issue of climate? I think he had good intentions, but he had problems. For instance, I know he was sympathetic to the realist view. It's something you could euphemistically call a bullshit meter. There are people who, I think, many people, who they may not understand an issue completely, but when they hear someone speak about it, they can suspect there's something wrong. And I think he had a pretty good meter that way. On the other hand, he had a daughter, Ivanka, who is a typical lefty New Yorker who believed in climate change because it was virtue signaling. And so, he had also Larry Kudlow, who is his economic advisor, who also didn't want to speak against climate change. So he had to deal with all sorts of things, and any politician does. I don't see that his response was as bad as most politicians. That is to say, he realized that there were both sides of the issue and he didn't want to get involved too much, tried, as opposed to most politicians who want to lead the band into the ditch.
And was it a good idea to go out from the Paris Agreement?
Of course. Why would anyone want to stay in it?
Because the fact is that after him, Joe Biden decided to go back in it.
But
It was very
A
easy.
politician is not obligated to do whatever his opposition wants him to do. So that makes no sense. Biden did it. That's the question. Why would anyone join the Paris Accord? Do you have any idea?
I don't think the Paris Agreement was a good idea, of course.
No.
But
So why?
I don't
would
say
you-
it was a bad idea from him, but he could have done better by going out of the UNFCCC. The
Oh, yeah, I
convention.
think
He
there-
could have done more in this way.
It's true, but I mean, with the Paris Accord itself, with no enforcement procedure, with heavy penalties if you actually do something, and many countries not doing something, it makes no sense. It's purely posturing. And as is perfectly evident, the only country that was reducing emissions was the US.
Yes,
So what was the point? We
Well,
were doing it anyway.
I agree, of course, with that.
Yeah.
but,
No, I mean,
did
the
he
question you have
succeed?
to ask is why is anyone still supporting it? It makes no sense. It's unbalanced. It's unenforceable. Nobody is paying any attention to it. It is symbolic of the cynicism of the present world, where people think showing some virtue which is unreal has real value. What is that about?
We're in kind of symbolic policies all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
it's like sacrificing virgins. You know, some societies did that. I mean, what was the point?
We talked about this already in another way. That the fact that people who are more realist on the issue is generally surrounding the core of the debate. There's no climatologists. There are a lot of engineers, of people like that.
I don't think you need experts. I mean, you know, first of all, if there's one good thing about COVID, it shows you can't believe experts. Among other things, they've made it easy to realize this by changing their mind and disagreeing with each other and so on. And then you have some experts that the government likes and some experts it hates. So what's the point? No, I think COVID may show that, but you know, people have to ask, you know, do they benefit? Do they lose? And I think the average person, and this is one reason you make it an existential threat, because I think an ordinary person looks at these green policies. He says, you know, I'm going to have to pay more for electricity, more for gasoline, I'm going to have less choice, I'm going to have this. What's in it for me? And they say, well, there's really nothing in it for you. There's a guy who's invested $1 billion in solar panels. There's a lot in it for him. And you'll say, well, you know, why should I support that? And you say, well, because the world will end if you don't. And if he's stupid enough to believe that, well, then they're successful. But I think most people are not that stupid.
Hopefully. So
Yeah.
the good news is that the end of the world is not for tomorrow, but the bad news is that all people who know it do not speak out.
I think you're being unusually pessimistic. I think, you know, a lot of people really realize there's something absurd about what's being said.
And do you think that if, well, there is a kind of cooling next year, that will change anything?
No, no. Cooling is due to global warming. They said that last time.
Yes. They said so.
No, by now I think this is the reason I think most people know it's silly. They know no matter what happens, they'll blame it on this. It becomes a joke. And the only reason it's not a joke is it's going to cost people a fortune. But, you know, eventually they'll say stop.
Do you think that the temperature will go down if if we accept the idea that temperature is something sensible to
I have no
consider.
idea.
No idea.
I have no idea. Anything that fluctuates, tenths of a degree, when your uncertainty is 3 or 4 tenths of a degree, and you're supposed to bet which way the random fluctuation went, I give up. I mean, the only thing I know about the temperature change you're speaking about is it's tiny. And that's the important point about it.
So thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you to all.
Thank you.